I do believe that one has to be really curious in this AI era because knowledge is everywhere.
Hi, good day. Thank you for joining today. Welcome to the Strategic Gear podcast. So I'm Farhan. I take care of strategy and marketing in the industrial sector as well as the retail and commerce sector at Strategic Gears. As we walk various corridors, I have realized, or many partners at Strategic Gears have realized that there is a lot of hype around AI, but not many people understand AI. So to bring some sense to what AI is, drive some clarity, I requested Nagaraj, who is our AI expert, to join us and to shed more light around AI and all the misconceptions that there are in. So Nagaraj, if you can start with your introduction and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Farhan, for having me. A short introduction about myself. I've spent about 21 years in consulting. I've worked across different value chain of technology landscape, and I lead AI and data practice as a senior partner with Strategic Gears. My experience is all around in consulting, and I also enjoy building AI models and AI proof of concepts. That's a short background about myself.
Amazing. So Nagaraj, today's discussion will focus on what is AI, then we'll go to how businesses put it, and then as an individual, if I want to be part of AI, what can I do? So starting with very basic, what is AI? Really?
Before I answer that question, what do you think is AI? What's your understanding of AI?
So with the name of it, artificial intelligence, it seems that there is an intelligent being next to me. It might be machine driven, but it will help me do things. So it's intelligence not from God, intelligence from machine. That's how I look at AI. But what is it really?
I think to bring clarity, I would call AI is a mathematical and statistical models at scale, which is powered by a lot of compute and designed for driving measurable business outcomes based on human-like pattern recognition from large quantity of data.
Okay. Now, as a layman, if I am telling this to a child, how can I explain AI?
I think AI is a powerful capability which helps humans to improve productivity. An example would be if you have to draft an email or draft a content for marketing or to improve the engagement of marketing materials on LinkedIn. And if you have to generate video, audio, music, largely these are generative AI, which is what is typically used by non-technology individuals, right from school students to professionals. That would be one form of AI. To simplify the other aspects of AI, I just spoke about generative AI, is where actually one needs to understand about statistical and mathematical models. Broadly, I would call it as these statistical models can do various aspects. If I have to explain to a fifth grader, for example, the best way to articulate one of the capability of AI is it can do something called clustering or categorization. And it is based on a statistical method. So let's say you have oranges and apple. You could train a model clicking hundreds and thousands of pictures holding an orange in your hand from various angles, and you could click picture of apple and you label those pictures as oranges and apple. What happens in this process is the machine understands this is an orange, this is an apple. The next step would be to go and ask, let's say, your fifth grader kid to come and show a different fruit altogether. The model will not recognize. Then you can ask the fifth grader to come and show, let's say, oranges. Model will say these are oranges based on the prediction, and that will be like 99.99% accurate. So the other aspect of AI in a completely non-technical format, it can do something called categorization and clustering. Okay. That's one simple aspect of that. It could also identify patterns, and another example would be, let's say, based on the let's talk about telco or a banking as an industry. Mostly we have all heard of customer segmentation, But typically when a customer segmentation is done, it is based on various attributes, demographics, age, ethnicity, gender, and so on and so forth. And there would still be some kind of a human bias. What certain AI models based on the underlying statistical and mathematical model can do is, without prompting for categorization of customer segmentation on these attributes, it will identify a pattern.
Amazing. So deep down, somebody is teaching a machine these categorization. It might be apple oranges categorization or pattern recognition categorization. So it's a machine, like we train a child, a machine is trained.
Right. So there are two aspects of the example which I gave. The first example is called supervised learning, which actually you are training the machine and help the machine understand patterns from that for it to predict and identify. There are unsupervised learnings as well. So there are models, which is what we call as a machine learning, deep learning, the various aspects of it. But just to keep it non-technical, certain machine learning machine learns by itself when you publish and push data to it. Those are unsupervised learning. And unsupervised learning is an example of, I gave you, like a customer segmentation. We don't have to teach the machine can actually find segments.
You walk various corridors across Saudi Arabia and Middle East. What are the myths around AI that you see as you walk those corridors?
I think the most important thing I come across, even from leaders, C-levels, is I think there is a misconception that AI is a solution for all, and AI is human-like, and it has got intention and consciousness, and that's a big myth. AI, as I said, is a powerful capability to deliver measurable outcomes if you can frame a problem statement. AI cannot solve everything. It does not have an intention or consciousness yet. There is a lot of work which is working on making it human-like, but right now it learns from the massive amounts of data, videos, text, and everything, and it can do certain function like summarizing, creating, and so on and so forth. So there is a myth around AI can solve all the problems, and what I've heard most of the time is that everyone throws around the term AI models. Now, what is AI models? So this is what I would say is the biggest myth. It's not human-like. It can, of course, mimic to an extent based on the machine learning is what AI can deliver.
So will it kill jobs, AI?
Look, my view is AI will definitely not kill jobs. It will definitely kill tasks, and it will create new jobs. The jobs will evolve. And I see this as a great opportunity because I think it will push the humans to move towards a higher value human judgment and creativity. So most of the roles which is going to be there in next 10 to 12 to 15 years is going to be pushing humans to be able to move towards a higher level of judgment and creativity, where you can tap into AI to get the business outcome. So I don't think, in short, AI will definitely not kill jobs. It will kill tasks, and people who are leveraging AI will end up replacing people who do not leverage AI. That could definitely happen, and I think the future is, in simple terms, I would say that the future is going to be AI augmented human judgment and creativity.
Amazing. So hold that thought. I'll come back to this. But as a business, if I want to start implementing or augmenting my team with AI, how should I go on about doing that?
I think the most important thing for the business to start with is to clearly define the problem statement or business outcome we are trying to deliver. And once that is framed, it could be AI, it could be something else.
Okay.
I think the challenge right now is with the kind of investment which is happening globally and in the region, and it's almost like a fashion statement and the fad to say that AI powered this, AI delivered this, AI driven this, AI driven that. Fundamentally, business should go back and ask question in terms of what is the problem we want to solve, as I said, going back, it could be based on the commercial aspects like revenue or profitability, productivity, getting into new market, whatever be the case. Frame a problem statement very, very clearly. Then to ensure that what would be the most appropriate technology enabler to choose to solve that problem and get the outcome. It could be AI, it need not be AI. But if it is an AI, the fundamental thing is you need to have a high quality data. So if you can solve a problem or derive a business outcome based on a very strong data, AI can definitely come into picture to deliver value.
So if I, in my business, want to implement AI and I have identified a problem, I think data is where companies start struggling because data is there, but it is spreads around the organization. It's not put in at one place. So how do I go on about putting the data in one place? Because you mentioned if data is not there, tough luck. AI will not work. So how do you go, like, it seems data is the core of AI. So how do I go about doing that as a business?
Yeah, as an organization, let's now just touch upon a few concepts, right? I mean, data can be in various shape and forms. I think to keep it at a very simple level, I would call it as you have structured data and unstructured data. And anything which I call as a structured data are the data which is coming from a transaction. When I say transaction, that means you have an underlying system. It could be a ERP solution, it could be a CRM solution, it could be various other solutions there. So any transaction which passes through these solutions, those are all structured data. So these structured data, as long as when the solutions were implemented and the way it was configured, allows the organization to capture and manage high quality data. When I say high quality data, they should not have a duplication, it should not have a data quality issue such as missing certain fields. You have the data. Then comes unstructured data. So when I say unstructured data, anything which is not passed through a transaction through a system, it could be PDF files, it could be video files, it could be audio files, it could be paper scanned documentation, whatever be the case, right? So the way to look at it is there is plethora of technological solutions available in the market, and it continues to grow for any organization to make sure they bring the structured and unstructured data in a certain form and shape and a technology backbone to be able to leverage for machine learning and AI solutions.
So then my question is the first step for me, if I want to implement AI or have my organization AI enabled, should I first bring the data together or should I start looking at problem statements, and which comes first, data or problem statement?
I think the problem statement comes first.
Okay.
I think, and if I'm running an organization, I would actually, if it's a listed organization, I would start with my financial statement and balance sheet to see what exactly I want to tackle, because numbers, I always believe that numbers will not lie. I mean, of course, numbers can be window dressing and things can be done, but I'm talking about enterprises which follows and reports things properly. Numbers will not lie. Start with the balance sheet, financial statements, etc., to find out what are the problems to be solved, and look at the trends in the industry, look at the competitors. Accordingly, they'll give you whole set of problem statements. Once those problem statements are there, I would say that you cannot do everything at once. You need to prioritize. And how do we prioritize? I would say is good. Then go back to data. See whether you have a data to be able to solve the problem based on the list of use cases you have come up with, the problem statement you have come up with. Once the data is there, that will automatically give you a first level of filtering and prioritization. Then comes the architecture, because AI is also not AI. I can throw off a lot of jargons. There is LSTM, there is neural network, there is deep learning, there is clustering. The many machine learning statistical models can be combined with AI, but it's important to choose the right models and architecture to solve the problem. So the first step, problem statement. Second step, look for data, which ones can be actually tackled. Third step is find the architecture which can be. Fourth is do a POC at a very small scale to see how it works. And then fifth would be to scale it across the enterprise. These are the steps I would recommend.
Amazing. Now, I asked you to hold a thought about, people enabled, and you said people or employees who or individuals, whoever continue being AI enabled will thrive going forward, and people who stay, they will start losing their jobs or they will be left behind. Now, as an individual, what would you recommend me? I want to start being AI enabled as Farhan. What do you recommend for me?
I think to start with, not only for Farhan, including, I would say that school-going kids, students who are in the university, employees at an entry level in an organization, and especially very, very experienced employees like us. Bare minimum, the start should be about leveraging some of the LLMs available there to gain productivity.
Okay.
So, which is obviously, as I mentioned, drafting emails, summarizing emails. If you're managing a large program and you want to have a tab on the team and the project, how the project is coming along, to be able to kind of synthesize from a long status report or a steering committee report to a key points which really matters for you as an engagement partner. So these are all things which I've mentioned about is from the productivity perspective. That means it frees up more time to go to market, come up with new offerings, expanding your network, and so on and so forth. That's part number one. The point number two is to at least have a basic understanding, and I believe that coding is for everyone in this era, because you really do not have to understand the nuts and bolts and libraries of coding to be able to understand the basics of AI and to build. Because building is not a challenge. Someone with your kind of an experience from FMCG marketing background, as well as delivering programs for industrial sector, you've got the domain knowledge. If you've got the domain knowledge, imagine how powerful it would be for you to build some small AI POCs, because you've got the domain knowledge. There are ready-made models available. Just bringing both together to be able to have a meaningful conversation with the customers will be fantastic. So two things: productivity focus, adapting should be one. The second most important, to be able to build. And I don't think build is difficult. I think it's just a curiosity. I do believe that one has to be really curious in this AI era, because knowledge is everywhere. Now, when the knowledge is everywhere, if two things will drive for someone to adapt and learn, I would like to believe one is curiosity, the second one is time. So you are leveraging the first part of AI to gain time. So time is not a problem.
Yeah.
Second is curiosity. And I think curiosity is, one can be inquisitive. It could be inherent nature, but I would say in this era, it should also be a survival skill. So that should create kind of curiosity to kind of learn and go forward.
Very clear. So Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. I can use to do this. But you said, hey, Farhan, start building models. Double click on that. I did electronic engineering, did Pascal, C++ programming way back. I don't know if I have the patience to start programming again. So tell me more. How do I do that?
I think because you spoke about your background, say I'm an electrical engineer. Even today, if there is a challenge at my home, I call an electrician. So and I've also been far away from that. But the point is, the best way to start is, you spoke about some of these LLMs. You spoke about OpenAI, Gemini, and so on and so forth. I think where to start is fundamentally, again, it goes back to three things. Identify a problem which needs to be solved at scale.
Okay.
Okay, let me give an example.
Yes.
For anyone who wants to kind of build their first model, I would say build something because you're curious and you're passionate about, but build something which is also meaningful for the market. We all have heard of Saudi Vision 2030. You have an equivalent when it comes to UAE, and I'm sure in other markets within the Middle East, right? Find in your specific industry what are all the Saudi Vision 2030 initiatives which can actually have a relevance for AI. That's the first step. Once that is done, the second step I would say is ideally we need to have a conversation with our clients, but in this case, because we are trying to build something for personal curiosity, we need to create something called synthetic data. There are plenty of technological enablers out there in the market to be able to mimic and create a data.
Okay.
That's one. And for some aspects of certain use cases, you have amazing opportunity in order to leverage open data. There are open data available in Saudi Arabia, there is open data available in US, there is open data available in multiple markets. You can leverage, Kaggle is one of the thing, you will have open data, the mimic set of data available for various domains. So second thing is to have those data. Then the third step I would say is to pick one of the technological enabler. It could be TensorFlow, it could be Python, it could be Google Colab. Leverage both. Coding, you don't have to code.
Tell me more.
You don't have to code.
Tell me more.
You know the
Yeah.
so because I am going to break this myth.
Yeah.
Right. You know the problem statement. You have managed to create a data, synthetic data. There are plenty of tools available there. You have created it. Now, to be able to bring both these things together, you need to have a software program, and the software program has to execute and has to do whatever it has to do. You can leverage any of the LLMs out there in the market, giving prompt very specific to generate code in any language you need. Okay, I would say it could vary between 80 to 95% accuracy, but the beauty of it is if it can throw 80 or 95%, you could ask me, Nagaraj, I have no idea, I have no understanding of coding. If AI generated code, if it doesn't work well, what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
Great question. What do? Take the error and go back to your LLM and ask, what does this error mean? First step. Why is it important? Even without asking this question, if you say, okay, this is the error I've got in the code, and can you please fix the error and give it back to me, it will give it back to you. But the point is, then as an individual, you're not learning. So rather ask, what is this error? And there could be 4 or 5 different categories of error. I mean, I'm not going to get into detail, but those categories you would understand over a period of time. And once the error is fixed, you run it in one of the thing, Sky said, I said, Python, you can use Google Colab, TensorFlow, use the code, you have the data, you have the model, you will get the output, whether it is a prediction, whether it is a forecasting, whatever be the case.
Wow, so mind blown. I just learned LLMs can help me create code. LLMs can help me create synthetic data, and essentially I can solve a problem if I have identified the problem statement very well. Amazing. Now, how do I know? Because all of this is happening on my laptop, synthetic and everything. How do I know that this is a good model? Like, it's a proof of concept. How do I know that?
Yeah. So 2 ways. It's a great question, by the way. Because generally AI initiatives fail when you want to move from proof of concept to enterprise grade. To answer your question, the first one to do is there are certain evaluation metrics available to test the model, including bias and other things. You've got things like Sharp, you've got things like Lime. I'm not getting into the details. That's probably our follow-on session. We will have a detailed discussion. The second most important thing, which is the easiest one for a non-technical person to do it, is I'll give you an example. Over the weekend I was really curious. I wanted to build something by leveraging an existing model and pre-training with different set of data. It was in the healthcare space. So what I did is I went to one of the open data source. In this case, it was something to do with medical challenge. Let's say I downloaded cancer-related data. And once the cancer-related data I had downloaded, based on an existing model, I fine-tuned that model, leveraging the data I had downloaded from the American Cancer Society. Okay. These data is available to download. We cannot commercialize. One should not commercialize. It's for research purpose and learning purpose. The model is built. The model is delivering the results. When I say model is delivering, what do I mean by that? I have already trained the model, and after training the model, I am sending 2 different, let's say, mammogram or tissue cells or whatever it is. It will predict saying whether it is cancerous or non-cancerous. If it is cancerous, what is the stage at which is there? I am not a medical professional, and this discussion is not about me trying to say, yeah, this model is going to predict every cancer. It's an example of how the curiosity was converted to a model to see this. Coming back to your key question, how do I know whether the model is good, right? You have certain evaluation metrics. The model itself will tell what is my percentage accuracy, point number 1. Okay, and those evaluation metrics can be built in while doing it. Point number 2, the easy one is download a different set of data from the same open data source, which is not being used to train the model, and upload that to see what does the model say. Because when you download, you know actually whether it's cancerous or non-cancerous.
Oh, amazing.
And when you now test it, and you repeat the test 10 times, 20 times with different images and stuff like that, and if you are getting it almost every time right, it's 100% accurate. Sometimes if there is a challenge, you know the accuracy is less. This is a non-technical way of evaluating whether your model is good. The second thing which I spoke about, SHAP and LIME and other things, it's a bit more detailed, but I think to keep it very, very simple, you can use some of the other type of evaluation metrics to find if there is a bias in the model inherently. And I'll give an example. Again, I built this out of curiosity. 2 different examples. One is for loan application approval and other one is for job application. First, let me take an example of job application. So let's say an HR department has identified a role. They publish the opening to be able to get candidates, go through the evaluation process. Now everyone uses something called ATS. Evaluation process happens, and then based on the shortlisted, then they go through the interview process. So there was a model which I had built, and for a same role, there are specific set of skills, experience, educational qualification is required, right? And I had intentionally created synthetic data with different gender, different ethnicity. So my model was consistently, I would call it, rejecting certain ethnicity or certain gender, despite that going over and beyond the required skills and experience. Or if you look at, let's say, 2 different ethnicity, 2 different gender, both meet, one gets shortlisted, the other one does not get shortlisted. That means you already have an inherent bias in the model. And take the same example for loan approval, right? So AI and AI models is as good as how we can remove the bias while delivering it, right? That is fundamental if we have to deliver value unbiased. That's why AI governance and all this regulation and all these things are pretty critical. That's the second part. So you can have the measure. So in this case, the model measured, the evaluation metrics clearly stated there is a bias. And by the way, there are 2 types of bias. It could be a positive bias. When I fine-tuned, the next time around, no matter what, it was picking one gender over another gender, one ethnicity over another ethnicity, because from a completely negative bias, it is compensated with a positive bias. So there are 2 ways.
Okay, now let's zoom down. So we talked about people who are currently in the job market. Let's say that there is a lot of hype, and there are people who are about to go into the university or about to graduate, and they want to build a career around AI. What skills and how should they go about doing it?
Yeah, I think I would highly recommend to build very strong foundation and fundamentals in understanding statistical models,
Okay.
linear algebra, mathematical models to start with. Then also to have a very strong foundation and fundamentals to know R or Python and some of the platforms like I would say Google Colab, Hugging Face, and a few other enabler tools. And then ML Ops has got weighted evaluation criteria and things like that. But if someone who is not from a mathematical background or don't have an interest in math or stats or whatever it is, I would say it's just important to understand the foundation and fundamental elements of statistics. As I said, I just gave you an example of clustering. You have correlation mechanism. So once in a plain and simple English words, if they understand what are those each statistical model, how does that enable real world use cases, that is also enough. Because once you have a problem statement, you need to be able to identify which statistical model can be applied. Rest of it, I would say that knowledge is everywhere. LLM does a great work. Understand how to bring both together and then leverage the tools I mentioned to develop your simple first use case. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. Now let's go high level. As we start moving towards closing this, is AI dangerous?
No, not inherently. I mean, nothing is dangerous inherently. Specifically to your question, AI is not dangerous inherently. Of course, like any technology enabler, AI can be misused. You have seen some of the examples. You must have come across deep fake videos. It can mimic sports personalities, politicians, world leaders, and stuff. So inherently, no technology is dangerous. So it also applies to AI. It is not inherently dangerous, but it needs to have the governance, regulation mechanism to ensure that it is not misused. And that is where I feel, as much as we are talking about data scientists and people who can build AI models, I believe certainly there's going to be a plenty of roles, plethora of roles available specifically in AI governance. And this is something which is being quoted by some of the global leaders who are in the technology space, whether it's from Google or OpenAI or Microsoft. Everyone is concerned about the governance space, responsible AI, ethical AI, and having unbiased data. All these things are critical, and I think that's going to completely explode. And I expect on an ongoing basis more and more regulatory requirements will come in as the AI adoption starts scaling and accelerating.
Very interesting. Next 12 months, 2026, what do you expect in AI?
I would say that there's going to be faster, smaller, more powerful models available, and I do predict that will. I wouldn't call it as replacing, but that will bring significant efficiency in knowledge working space. That's my press. So because the compute is already taken care of, I think the big organizations which are in the race for being number one in AI, they are focusing on power generation and electricity. So you have electricity, you have compute. So what will happen is more and more you will have a very short, powerful models which will start delivering real world use cases, and then it needs to be integrated with enterprise level data and enterprise level scale. That's my prediction.
Amazing, Nagaraj. This was very insightful. I really loved our discussion. First of all, I felt more comfortable. Hey, jump in, be curious, find a use case, and build and use LLMs to help develop those use cases, if I may, or program, if I may. Secondly, you said, hey, don't fear AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Use AI as an enabler for productivity. So thank you ever so much. Any parting thoughts you want to say? And
yeah, I would say this AI is for everyone. I don't think we should complicate. Be curious. explore with AI, experiment with AI, and enjoy the ride.
Amazing. So play with it and be ethical around it. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you ever so much, Nagaraj.
Thank you so much.